What did you make of that, Emily?
Well, I think that he didn't mean to come across in that way, and I will defend him on this, because if you read in today's paper, what he basically was saying, when you come into Heathrow, it's like coming to a country of all different nationalities, and that there is a great variety of culture within Britain. And unfortunately, he didn't state it that way. And so, again, I think that it's been misread, but he would have been better advised to have not said it at all.
Let's bring in Tom in Sao Paulo, who's been listening to our conversation. Tom, good to have you back on World Have Your Say. You're a businessman and a Catholic, as regular listeners to BBC World Service Radio will know. What element of our conversation would you like to pick up on?
Well, first I'd like to say that I don't think that the Pope referred to secularism in general as a bad thing. The Church and secularism have coexisted since the beginnings of the Church, and rather peacefully most of the time. What he did mean, I think, is that radicalism within secular thought, or fanatical liberalism, for that matter, are dangerous lines of thought, in that they promote the same intolerance that radical religions would promote. And in that sense, they are equally dangerous and should be treated with reserve. What we want is for a global community, is for a joint effort for the common good.
Well, rather than me paraphrasing him, I'm going to pull up another quote from the Pope in just a moment. But first of all, let me read you this email from Patty. She's following the debate with the BBC from Los Angeles. And she says, as an atheist, I'm deeply offended by the Pope's ignorant statement concerning Hitler's atheist extremism. Liz, in Glasgow, were you offended by anything the Pope said yesterday?
I was not at all offended. I thought that the Pope was very apprehensive about coming to Scotland because of all the bad press. And I think he's a very intelligent man, and I think a lot of his comments were taken out of context. The actual, the whole, everything the Pope said yesterday was to people, not to one religion in particular. It's about respect, and I feel that respecting people, respecting each other for the religion, that's the important thing. I respect other people to have a point of view about religion or not to be religious, and I expect them to be respectful of me and my point of view.
Just if I could pick up on what Liz was saying, if you listen to what the Pope said this morning when he was talking to all the leaders of different religions, he said it's this quest for ultimately what satisfies us, for the meaning of life that joins all religions together and makes us brothers with each other.
But this word respect is interesting, isn't it? Because lots of Catholics are emailing the BBC this week saying they feel that the amount of respect they receive from atheists is diminishing. Is that how you two feel?
Emily?
I don't feel that, but I feel that we overuse the word religion. I think religion in our present society has a bad press because religion has led to so many wars from all religions. And I would like to focus more on faith in God, faith and virtue and belief, but religion, let's just try and see if we can live together peacefully, but not go on and on and on, because it does lead to trouble.
Well, Tom was talking about the comments the Pope's made about society. Let me see if I can pull up another quote from what he was saying in Scotland yesterday. In the meantime, thank you very much to Sharon in London for getting in touch, and Andrew in Denmark on the phones. You'll be with us in just a couple of moments. In fact, let me speak to Andrew before I bring in that quote. Andrew, you're following this visit from Denmark. Do you think it's appropriate for Britain to be spending this much money on a state visit for the Pope?
Not really, because the majority of Catholics, there isn't one in Britain. It's a purely pastoral visit, mainly from what I can see, and therefore why should the rest of the population be paying for it?
Thank you very much indeed. Let me, thanks for coming on. And by the way, if you want to call up, the number again, country code 44 20 70 83 72 72. We've half an hour on BBC World News, but if you don't get on, don't worry. We're on for an hour on BBC World Service Radio at 1700 GMT. Now, I was talking about that quote. Let me see if I can pull it up on the screen for you. This is very, very interesting. Society, he says, today needs clear voices which propose our right to live, not in a jungle of self-destructive and arbitrary freedoms, but in a society which works for the true welfare of its citizens and offers them guidance and protection in the face of their weakness and fragility. Richie, do you like the sound of that?
Well, I think that quote's quite good, but if we come back to the wider issue of secularism and the extreme forms of secularism he was referring to...
No, but one moment, Richie, let's hold on to this, because his point is that human rights alone, that reason alone doesn't meet the potential, doesn't allow mankind to meet the potential as an individual, but also as a society. Do you agree with that or not?
Well, no, I don't think... I think that human reason alone can meet that potential.
And I don't think the Pope is objecting to that.
No.
As a Catholic, we would say, let's have a dialogue on that.
Yes.
With where do we get to? How do we build the common good?
But let's
yes,
also...
from my own experience, I find I always desire more and more. I desire to be totally fulfilled, and in my experience, the only thing that fulfills me is a relationship with my Maker, which is exactly what the Pope has been saying. But if somebody else has a different experience, that doesn't mean that it's wrong.
But the point that the Pope is making, Tom, in Sao Paulo, is that if no one has that faith, the faith which Tom is talking about, if no one has that, then mankind as a whole will suffer.
But let me add an ingredient to this. I think that Christian values at present are inconvenient and are actually they're actually felt as a block to rampant consumerism. I mean, somebody like our friend here who finds fulfillment in religion is less likely to be spending money trying to find fulfillment in traveling to an exotic place, for instance. So I think that there are objections in our society that go beyond conviction and into actual economic interest.
Thank you very much for that comment from Sao Paulo. Tom, you're staying with us. Liz in Glasgow's had to go. Thanks for being with us, Liz. Thanks also to Andrew, who came on the phone from Denmark. Let's cross from Denmark to Washington, D.C. and bring in Evelyn Mercantini, who's our next guest on today's World Have Your Say. Evelyn, you're part of an organisation called Voice of the Faithful, which campaigns for victims of sex abuse cases within the Catholic Church. Looking across the Atlantic, what have you made so far of the Pope's trip to Britain?
Well, quite honestly, I think he is doing a good job, and I think he is trying. However, the Pope really needs to reach out to these victims of clergy abuse, and not only to the victims, but to the bishops who need to come forth and acknowledge that all of this abuse and cover-up has happened.
But Evelyn, let me interrupt you here. What more do you want the Pope to do? On his plane when he was flying into Edinburgh yesterday, on Thursday, he was categorical. He condemned what happened. He even referred to the paedophiles as having an illness. He said it was abhorrent to him. What more can he say or do to satisfy your concerns?
It's not what he says, it's what we want him to do. He absolutely is saying the right things, but he's still talking in the past. And these victims are here and now, and we want them to be acknowledged. We want the priests who have been credibly abused and or convicted to be named